being recorded.
All right, everyone, my clock says 4 o'clock, and I think that we will start with today's webinar. Thanks again for joining us this afternoon. Today's webinar will feature a best practice in place at St. Paul's Lutheran School in Orange, California. Today's webinar was prepared by our friends at St. Paul and is being produced by Concordia University, Wisconsin's Office of Continuing and Distance Education. We thank our friends at Concordia for their leadership and support in this endeavor. My name is Drew Gertis. I serve as Early Childhood Director at Messiah Lutheran School in Weldon Spring, Missouri. I am also part of the Executive Committee for National Lutheran School Accreditation, and I'm excited to get our webinar started for today. Just a few notes before we officially begin. There are actually 2 additional webinars scheduled this month for our friends at St. Paul Lutheran School in Orange, California. Next Tuesday, February 9th, they'll present a webinar titled Multi-Tier System of Support. They'll speak with us about meeting the academic and behavioral needs of all of their students. Additionally, on Tuesday, February 16th, they'll share another webinar titled Crawlin' to Walkin', and they'll share information on how they transition students throughout their early childhood program and eventually into their kindergarten classroom. Again, all of these webinars have been prepared by our friends at St. Paul Lutheran School in Orange, California, and represent best practices currently in place at their school. Live webinars are participatory events. We appreciate your questions and comments. Please feel free to express yourself by typing in the chat box in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. All of the webinars presented this year are available on demand on the login page of the Lutheran School portal. You don't need to be a portal member to view them. If you like what was shared, we certainly invite you to view a recorded webinar together with your faculty. Another great resource of Lutheran schools is the LCMS School Ministry Facebook page. Our Facebook page provides another opportunity for our schools to connect. We invite you to share your encouraging stories on the LCMS School Ministry Facebook page. In just a moment, I'll turn everything over to Jim Bowden, Principal at St. Paul's, but before I do that, I'd like you to join me in a short word of prayer. Dear Lord, we ask for your blessings upon our webinar today, both for those who are listening and learning, as well as for those at St. Paul who are sharing. We thank you for the opportunity to gather together and learn. Continue to be with us as we carry out the great mission of Lutheran schools. In your name we pray. Amen. And right now I'd like to introduce Jim Bowden. He's the principal of St. Paul's Lutheran School in Orange, California, and I know he's got a few other helpers with him. So, Jim, I'll pass it over to you.
Well, greetings from Southern California. St. Paul's Lutheran Schools is a mission and ministry of St. Paul's Lutheran Church. It is a robust ministry that is enthusiastic in its Christ-centered approach to an excellent Christian education. At St. Paul's, we exist to educate children, nurture their faith, and equip them to share the gospel of Jesus Christ. St. Paul's is located in the city of Orange, California, which is in Southern California. The ministry spans 2 campuses in North Orange County. The church and the Early Childhood Development Center is located on one campus, while the K-8 ministry is on the second campus. The congregation took a great leap of faith in 1985 by purchasing a former public school for the K-8 program. St. Paul's Lutheran Church was founded in 1907 and was located a few miles away from the present campus. The school opened in 1908. From the very beginning, the focus of the ministry of St. Paul's was and continues to be the school. The ministry has grown to serve over 600 students from infant to 8th grade. Today, St. Paul's has an enrollment of over 180 students in the Early Childhood Development Center and over 480 in the K-8 program. 5 administrators oversee a staff of over 80 dedicated Christian individuals who are intent on bringing the gospel into the lives of the students and the families. The programs of St. Paul's Lutheran School have been recognized as a National Blue Ribbon School in 2009 and is fully accredited by the Western Association of Schools and Colleges and the National Lutheran School Association. Both accreditations came in 2013. St. Paul's was recognized as an exemplary school in 2014. My name, as it was stated, is Jim Bodwin, and I'm honored and humbled to be the principal of St. Paul's Lutheran School since 1995. I have served as a teacher and administrator in Lutheran education for nearly 32 years. I would like to now introduce Daryl Maxwell as he presents today's webinar, Learning on the Move into the 21st Century.
Well, welcome to St. Paul's and good afternoon. As Mr. Bowman said, my name is Daryl Maxwell. I'm an assistant principal overseeing professional development, athletics, and discipline. In addition, I teach 8th grade language arts. It's my 12th year here at St. Paul's, and I just completed 30 years in Lutheran education. Today I'm going to be presenting information about our one-to-one iPad initiative that we've implemented in our middle school. Our goal over the next several minutes is to provide a glimpse into a program that we highly value at St. Paul's. I will be joined by a few of our students as well as an instructor to provide the most complete picture of our program and its benefits. As you'll see in the chat room, Nick Reyes, our technology coordinator, will help to answer questions as they arise through that chat room. Technology has been a priority for development ever since the first two computer labs were put into place in 1995. These computer labs allow student access to tech tools and online resources for a number of years. In 2007, the administration and staff began to study one-to-one possibilities and began to move forward with this process by implementing a bring your own technology policy. In 2009, staff moved forward in implementing a one-to-one program with the iPad being the mandatory tool for the student. An optional year of implementation took place during the 2009 academic year, and in 2010, the 6th grade was added to the program, and iPads became a mandatory school supply for our middle school students. During this time, the Wi-Fi network was vastly improved to be the robust network that exists today. While St. Paul's has implemented a one-to-one program with iPads, we have found that having two computer labs is still relevant and has its place in the educational programs of the school. These two labs have been updated and are continuing to be improved. The studio is targeted to serve students in grades 5 through 8, as well as host professional development events and parent training. The studio supports 27 desktop computers, 2 projectors, a Promethean board, an interactive whiteboard, a full-wall whiteboard, 3 monitors, and a podcast studio, which is where we are broadcasting from today. Future plans include replacing all the desktops and providing additional tools to further develop collaboration for all of our participants. The STEM spot, which is the picture in the lower part of this slide, contains 27 desktop stations that are targeted for students in preschool through 4th grade. It, too, has an interactive whiteboard, and future plans call for additional big screen monitors and additional projectors. The STEM spot is also the home of the LEGO robotics teams that have been created and developed at St. Paul's. As I said before, the iPad was fully implemented in 2010 as a mandatory part of our program. We have found the iPad to be a valuable tool for our students and teachers. The mobility of the device, various applications, access to web-based programs, and the overall performance of the iPad have all been selling points for our community. In order for any initiative to become successful in an organization, a specific plan has to be in place. We use this model as our guide in implementing the one-to-one program. Each of these pillars must be addressed in order for the program to be successful. 2 areas that we would stress would be that of vision and professional learning. What is it that you want to accomplish? At St. Paul's, our vision was and is to equip each of our students with the resources necessary to be successful at their current level and at the next level. In the area of technology, we want every student to have all available resources at his or her fingertips, and we feel the iPad accomplishes that goal. Professional development is a must. The year prior to implementing iPads, the staff spent a great deal of time in group instruction as well as individual training. Several teachers visited other campuses in the area to learn from schools that had implemented this type of program. A specific, intentional plan has to be in place for the training of the instructor. Over the past few years, we have created a professional development plan that includes 12-plus hours per year of hands-on instruction based upon a particular topic. In 2013-14, our staff received instruction in the area of Active Inspire from a Parisian consultant. This consultant also integrated the use of the iPad into the Active Inspire platform. This year, we have spent time focused on Google Apps for Education. The iPad in the classroom is utilized through a variety of methods. Collaboration. The iPad allows for greater freedom of collaboration between students and teachers. The on-the-move technology provides an avenue of sharing information and resources. These resources are now at the fingertips of the user. Note-taking. As with anything, there are a plethora of applications that can be installed on the iPad for student use. Note-taking during class and when working on projects is an important skill set for the student to acquire. We have established that Notability is the app for note-taking for all of our middle school students. This allows the teacher and student to easily collaborate and allows the teacher to be able to assist since everyone is trained in the use of this app. Notability provides the opportunity for students to take notes through typing text, handwriting text, color coding, and importing pictures. The student can also record lessons. For homework, students are able to accomplish most homework via Google Classroom or Edmodo in conjunction with Google. For the first few years of the implementation of the iPad, Edmodo was the platform which most online homework was distributed and gathered. This year, a few of the middle school instructors have begun to use Google Classroom as it is seamless with Google Drive. It should be noted that all of our students and staff have Google accounts and that we have a domain specific to St. Paul's, and that's splsorange.org. For instruction, our instructors have found that by utilizing the iPad, they are freed from being anchored to the front of the classroom. Lessons have become more interactive and engaging. Through the use of various apps, the instructors can record lessons, input grades on the fly, and to transform the classroom big screen into an interactive whiteboard. At this time, I'm going to invite some 8th grade students into the room to give some input about their use of the iPad. So we're going to welcome Phoebe and Haley and Cole. And these are 3 of our 8th grade students who have gone through the iPad program from start to finish, so to speak. They started as 6th graders, and now as 8th graders. They're probably better than with the iPad than what we are. So we have a couple of questions we're going to ask them and let them interact. And then we'll have them available at the end for additional questions if you have questions strictly for the students. So the first question here is, what's the most positive aspect of the use of the iPad at school for you as students here at St. Paul?
My favorite part is the speed we can work. So when we're working, it's just typing things is so much easier than writing things out longhand, where a 750-word essay can be done within an hour as opposed to an hour and a half or more.
Thanks, Cole. Haley, what do you think?
I think the most positive aspect of the use of the iPad is that the teacher can be talking, and if we don't know words that they're saying or don't understand something, we can look it up right away and then understand it while he's still speaking.
Good. Phoebe?
I think the most
best part of the iPad is that everything is in one spot, and you can research everything, and you can type it up, and then you can turn it in within one day. It's just the easiest part to do.
Fantastic. Thanks, guys. What has been the greatest frustration in using the iPad? We always talk a lot about the iPad being such a great tool and all that, but we do know there's some frustration. Maybe you could share some of those that you've experienced.
I think the greatest frustration in using the iPad is having people on different skill levels where there are people in the classroom who are completely lost and need the teachers to help them. And then there's students in the class who are far beyond any comprehension of the teacher. So they're sitting there with nothing to do.
I feel like the greatest frustration is sometimes the network will be down, or the Wi-Fi, or a site won't load. So I think that's the greatest frustration. The hardest part for me was finding the apps, because there are so many with the same name, and the harder the easier the name is, the harder it is to find, and there are so many multiples of the same name.
Good. And a lot of the frustrations that the students share, we should make sure the teachers share some of those frustrations as well. So a lot of times we work together to solve those. Sometimes the students have come up with apps, and we learn from them, and vice versa. So yeah, it's been a good relationship that way, is working frustrations. What's been the most helpful in learning how to use the iPad, how to put it into play, so to speak, in the classroom?
The most helpful thing for me was having the drive to want to use the iPad, where us as children want to use technology, and we may just want to play games, but using the iPad and just being on it as much as we are, it helps us with learning the basics of having it.
Right.
I think the most helpful thing in learning to use the iPad is that, well, in the beginning of the year, we did have a iPad boot camp, and they did walk us through all the programs that we will be using, and that made it a lot more easier in the classroom. The most helpful thing for me were the 7th and 8th grade students. When I was a 6th grade student, they helped teach me the ins and outs and how to use everything, especially specific apps, as I didn't know how to turn a lot of my assignments in.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, guys. Again, they're going to be around, and at the end of the webinar, they'll be available to answer any questions that are specific to them. So, good. Thanks, guys. So, in addition to the uses that we mentioned in the previous slide, our middle school students are able to utilize their iPads as they navigate Google Calendars. This actually serves as a student assignment book. And so teachers load various calendars for their classes, and they're able to keep those calendars up to date as needed. This calendar is also embedded on the school's website. If you go to our school's website, click on the middle school, you can pick on the various classes and see what's coming up in those classes. And this way it also allows the parents to have access without a lot of passwords and logging in. Students are also able to do general computing while in class. For instance, a word is used, as was mentioned by the student, that's not familiar. The student's able to research that word on the move. The power of the Internet is literally at the student's fingertips. Students are also able to take tests and complete homework on the iPad. St. Paul's uses Accelerated Reader, and students are able to log in while on campus and access the AR library to search books of interest, as well as take quizzes. The students mentioned boot camp, and so how does a student gain access and learn? Well, we do a boot camp. A boot camp happens at the beginning of the year, so usually the first few days of the school year, and we do a 2 to 3 day boot camp depending on what's needed. All of our students gather in our multi-purpose room, as you can see in this picture here, and our technology coordinator and I team up to present the details of the use of the iPad. We seek to match up mentor students with newbies in order to help all the students master the tool. We cover such topics as basic orientation, safety, and security, as well as iPad setup, which includes all the various accounts that the student may need. We also are very intentional about providing in-service training for faculty and staff. This in-service is differentiated to meet the needs of the user. Again, we seek to match mentors up with newbies. We provided parent training and will continue to do so as we grow the program. So the iPad enables the students to access specific applications as well as access web-based programs and extensions. As I mentioned before, Notability is a favorite app of our students and faculty. Dictionary.com is a great resource for vocabulary work as well as a tool to allow students to expand their command of the English language. We're in a period of transition with Edmodo and Google Drive. Our middle school staff is gradually migrating to the use of Google Classroom, and we should complete that migration by 2016. St. Paul's has implemented Google Apps for Education, and each of our students, faculty, and staff, including our church staff, have Google accounts. iMovie and Keynote have proven to be two excellent applications to allow the students to present multimedia projects. We are finding more and more online textbooks which allow the students to have all resources available for support when doing classwork. As you can see with the images that are on this screen, language arts and social studies are online and can be accessed through the iPad. The language arts series right now is strictly PDF, but the social studies is more interactive. Each spring, the middle school faculty discusses the applications that are working and those that have become antiquated. It's at this time that the Panther application list is updated. And as you can see, some applications are required and others are shown as optional. We also try to indicate the cost factor to assist the parent. Of course, as with any educational initiative, it's the instructors that make it happen. Our middle school staff has completely bought in to the one-to-one iPad initiative and are constantly learning how to improve the application of the device in the classroom and to improve in the delivery of instruction using 21st century technology. Ongoing professional sharing and learning is a key component of our faculty's development. The slide portrays just a few of the applications that our teachers use to enhance their instructional delivery. Each of our middle school classrooms have installed AirServer, which allows any student or teacher to wirelessly project their iPad through the host computer. Nearpod is utilized by some of the instructors and is a web-based presentation tool that engages students and promotes live interactions during the instruction. So sharing allows the iPad to become an interactive whiteboard. The application allows the user to capture the host computer and then operate it accordingly. The instructor is able to annotate on various images and is also able to record the lesson. This recording can then be sent to students who are absent or archived for future reference. This allows the instructor to be unleashed from the computer and or from the front of the classroom. I want to welcome now Jeanette Mattoon, who's one of our 6th grade teachers, and she's going to provide some additional input from her point of view about the iPad in the classroom.
So the use of one-to-one iPads in my classroom has allowed me to be able to instruct the students with ease. Students can listen to their Bible during my religion class and follow along, which in turn is using 2 learning styles instead of just one. Students can research questions and get immediate answers. The use of Google Classroom has been a huge input in my room, and Google Documents has allowed all of my classes to be 90% paperless. The iPad allows students to do their assignments and turn them in immediately, which then also gives me as a teacher immediate feedback. The applications that are available also help students with organization. Missing work is almost non-existent, and it is easy to see right away if they are turning work in and on task during instruction. The use of iPads for research allows for immediate collaboration between students, and I have seen an increase in communication and collaboration with the use of this technology.
Great. Thanks, Jeanette. Thanks for your input. So as you can see, we have been and continue to be excited about the integration of technology into our middle school through the implementation of the iPad. Are there frustrations? Absolutely. That first boot camp we did, and nearly 200 students logged into Wi-Fi, we found the network would not handle the load. We had to punt. The students and teachers spread out around campus to find a signal and complete the work that we had planned that day. We've had our share of hiccups, but each situation's been able to be resolved, and we have maintained our course. I really appreciate your attention today. We hope you're able to glean something of use for your situation. My contact information is on this slide, and at this time, we'd like to open it up to questions, either for our students or for me or for Mr. Bodwin, and hopefully we can answer all those questions.
Hi, everyone. This is Drew again. Lots of great information, Daryl, and all your friends there at St. Paul's. Wonderful, wonderful information. Looks like we did have a few questions in the chat box, which were answered by Nicholas. Thanks again for checking that chat box regularly and answering those. Does anyone else have another question that they might want to share with Daryl or any of the folks there at St. Paul's related to their information today? One of the questions I want to ask you, Daryl, is do you have any tips or information, insight that you can share regarding what schools might want to look at for their infrastructure? You had mentioned one of the learning things that you had come across was access and making sure that there was enough Wi-Fi power for everyone. Any insight or ideas that you can share with us related to that?
So I'm gonna let Nick Reyes answer that question, because he's helped to take our Wi-Fi from where it was to the robust network it is today, so he can give you a little bit more detail about what we have here.
So the trick
Great,
with Wi-Fi, especially on a scale like this, where you're no longer talking about, you know, a household or a small amount of people, you really need to look at the hardware itself and then plan accordingly. So first off, you know, you need to look at hardware that's going to support a lot of people at one time. Because if you don't have proper hardware in the proper places, you could have 200 people in one room and completely destroy one of your access points. So hardware is the first thing to look at, something really robust. And then after that, it's all taking a look at your campus, figuring out where the heavy usage spots are, and then figuring out how you're going to lay these out so that they don't interfere with each other, and so that you can almost guarantee that it doesn't matter what spot you're standing at the school, you're going to get a Wi-Fi signal so that you can work.
Okay, great, great.
I was looking at Scott's questions here. I'm going to go ahead and answer those questions.
Great.
So, Scott, you're asking, the first question was about network drives, or have our teachers gone to Google Drive? Our teachers have totally shifted to Google Drive. We still do have a network drive for some of our archives, and they do have access to that, but primarily their files are all within their own Google Drive. And then I think the second part of that was teachers use primarily iPads or laptops. All of the above. It's really a teaching style. In my classroom, you would see me some days strictly on the iPad, some days with the laptop, sometimes with both. And so it's really a teaching style of what's comfortable for the instructor.
Looks like Scott's maybe typing in another question for us.
Was that the same question?
Yep, okay.
Thanks, Scott. Good.
Anyone else have any last-minute questions? Otherwise, again, Daryl and Jim and all the good folks there at St. Paul's, thanks for sharing the information with us today. Probably within a day or two, this will be posted on the archive page of the Lutheran School portal, so people can access information and view this again with their faculties and individually as well. So, again, great job. I had the privilege of visiting St. Paul's about a year ago. Just an amazing facility, great folks there. So keep up the great work, and God's blessings to you as you continue your great ministry there at St. Paul's.
Great, thanks, Drew.
You bet. And also just want to give one shout out to Matt Stenson from Concordia University, Wisconsin. Matt, thanks for recording this webinar for us and for helping us with all the technology that was involved on your end. So again, thanks everyone. God